and welcome everyone. I'm Kate Shea, Senior Editor and Manager of Digital Content at Event Marketer, and we are here for our final LinkedIn Live discussion of Experiential Marketing Month, a program that we have been bringing to you all month long online and on the road. And for today's discussion, we're going to wrap up an action-packed month with a breakdown of the biggest trends gaining steam now, as well as some future casting and predictions for the year ahead. So let's meet our panelists. Today, I'm joined by Jimmy Knowles, Global Head of Experiential at Canva, Valerie Strehle, Senior Director of Global Events at Workiva, John Wolff, Senior Global Events Manager at Lenovo, and Louisa O'Connor, Managing Director at Scene Presents, which is our digital class sponsor today. Hey, Louisa.
Hi.
Hey. All right, everyone. So let's dig in. I'm not playing around. We're going to go hard for the first questions. Tell me, what are the trends that you see impacting the industry in 2026, and what will that look like? And I know that's a big question, but whoever wants to dive in first.
Yeah,
I
that's
can
all right.
What? You want me to go on? You go, John.
Yeah, so sorry, I was going to say, I think the trends that we're looking towards is entering the era of intelligent experiences. So AI and data are personalizing events in real time. Brands are shifting from one-off activations to always-on ecosystem. The new frontier that we're seeing in 2026 is multisensory storytelling. So it's really designing for emotion as much as attention, and really it's all about experiences and intelligent and continuous and conscious events moving into 2026.
Anyone else want to weigh in?
We've got a couple. I think they started this year, but I still think nostalgia is going to be a big one for next year, but maybe with a little bit more purpose around it. Like we've seen lots of brands tapping into nostalgia this year, but maybe not around why those trends actually started and the meaning behind them. So we saw, like Nikes, for example, but why did that trend come around? And I think brands will be challenged to really think about, if they're going to tap into a trend like that, what's the purpose behind it. And then I think another one that will really see excel next year is inclusive exclusivity. We're seeing a lot of brands create exclusive experiences, but for their actual users, their actual fans, their actual consumers, versus just people that they're paying to experience that. So we're going to still see this feeling of it's something that I really want to go to. This feels super exclusive and amazing, but actually it's going to be inclusive to people who really love that brand and are real true fans of it. So I think those two for me are going to be big movers next year.
I think what you just mentioned is spot on to what I'm seeing as well. So I'm seeing more of an elevated events and networking trend. So it's no longer are the days where we're just going to have a dinner and be done. It's more like, how am I elevating the experience?
Yeah. And there's a little treat culture as well. Jimmy, you guys at Canva are good at that. It's even if budgets are really challenged, it's just this having experiences that's a little treat. It's quite hard out there at the moment. There's a lot of heavy stuff going on in the world. So if you can create this treat experience, even if they're small, I think that will be something else that brands maybe tap into next year.
Yeah, could not agree more. You had me at treat, honestly. I think for me, I'm thinking a lot about this kind of merging of utility and spectacle, right? It's experiences and creating moments that aren't just beautiful, but useful. And it's less about the photo moments or the Instagram wall, or kind of the spectacle of it all. And thinking more design labs, so spaces that are empowering participation, learning, co-creation, getting folks hands-on with tools, with products, with the experience, whatever that may be. And we see that come to life at things like Canva Create, where our most kind of beloved moments are when people aren't watching, but they're actively participating and doing. And I think that's really important. And then for us too, I'm thinking a lot about localization at scale, right? As Canva especially continues to grow and mature, we're seeing more investment in cultural fluency, that sense of empowering local teams to build experiences that feel of the place and not just in the place, if that makes sense. So yeah, a couple of things we're looking out for.
I love that. We've been hearing pretty much all of those things all month long. So, I mean, looks like they're gaining steam here. So flipping the script a little bit, what kind of trends do you see going by the wayside next year, or what would you like to see go away?
I don't know if I think year on year, I don't know if you leave any, but it's the macro trends stay, but the micro trends go. So if there's you have a micro trend of brat summer, if you have a micro trend of everyone's giving away Labubus. Like, I think we'll leave some of that behind, but I think some of these macro trends will follow us into 2025. All here for Labubus not coming into 2026. But I think, like, we had like pop-up diners as a real thing, like pop-up gas stations. I think those like micro trends will be a new one of those. But then I think some of the trends that we just talked about will probably see those carrying on year on year.
I think for
Yeah,
me,
Yep.
sorry,
Yep.
I think for me, the piece that I'm seeing or I would love to see go by, and I'm actually seeing it for our recent survey results from events that we've done, is passive panel discussions. So no longer are the days or people just getting talked at to. It's more of these conversations where you're getting the actionable takeaways and letting the attendee come back with something that they can bring to their teams and extend the conversation. So we're seeing a lot more of a need for lightning talks, peer-to-peer roundtables, conversations, and less theater type conversations at our events.
John, did you have something too?
Yeah, two points. I think overpriced wow for wow sake events are giving way to authentic driven experiences. And I think we've all there's some threads here and commonality, but communities, influencers are out, communities are in, audience trust real voices over celebrity reach. So it's how are we creating those pockets of communities where the customer is? I'm not waiting for them to come to us. And what Jimmy's doing with Canva, what we've been doing with our road shows, it's seeing where the customer is and coming to them, working with teams to create that local community flavor. But those are kind of the things I'm seeing as far as the trends go away and what will give way to next year.
I think this idea of like the more is more mentality, I think for a very long time, experiential as an industry was in this kind of arms race of who could build the biggest, the flashiest experience moment. And I don't think that tension doesn't necessarily equal affinity for a brand. So I think similar to that kind of like Instagram wall mentality, going to be saying goodbye to experiences that are built purely for content capture and the ones that are designed to specifically look good on TikTok but don't feel good in person. I think will be the ones that you will see hopefully go by the wayside.
There's also something that you said earlier, Jimmy, about the participation and like being involved in events. Like there's a trend rearing its head for 2026. It's actually having high friction experiences is more desirable than having really seamless, no effort. It's all very shiny and it's all very organized. And it's, those kind of experiences often cost a lot of money. And I think, especially for brands that don't have the biggest budgets, that's a really interesting trend to leave behind. Everything has to be seamless, and a new trend to be excited about for next year, these high friction where actually people can, have a bit of a rawer experience, a bit more of a human experience and kind of craft that with the brands. I think that's quite an interesting transition as well.
Yeah, I think that humanity, I'm sure at some point in the next 15, 20 minutes, we'll talk about AI, but
No,
it's inevitable. It's got to
I
happen.
know it's happening.
I think the humanity at the and that human heartbeat at the center of every creative activation is going to be more important than ever as AI becomes more prevalent in our day to day, as it integrates itself into every single moment of our waking workday, right? People are going to be craving that humanity, that connection. And there's no tool better placed in the marketing mix than experiential to do that and to contribute to a brand's 360. It's very exciting.
I think, Jimmy, to that point, right, is inevitable. So something that we don't want to talk about. AI gives us scale, but the people give it soul. So if we don't have the people that are helping with the LLMs or feeding it that information, that's where the soul of the experiential marketing comes into place.
Well, I guess we're going to start the AI conversation now.
Yeah.
We've been asking people all month, just kind of a sneak peek at how you're using AI for internal efficiencies. We've seen the rise of agentic AI and a lot of these tools. So tell us what's going on. What are you using?
We've been using a lot of notebook LMs. We've used it for our large scale conferences to inform staff so we no longer get one-off questions. We just link it to our Slack and it answers everything for us. So we've seen a huge decline in just the amount of time we've spent training our own staff on answering those questions that are, promoting our events for us. But what we've also tried to do is create more of an AI advocate. So it's really hard for everyone to try to dedicate a lot of time to doing AI. So what we've done is for each team, we've created an AI advocate. So they're on weekly, monthly calls across the entire organization to talk about how others in the departments are using AI, and they're bringing it back to the teams. And they're the ones, they've got the resources, they understand. It's really part of like their OKRs is to enforce how can we be more efficient internally with our use of AI. So it's something that we've taken a very big leap in time commitment to, but we're seeing some good results. So internally, we're doing a ton.
Yeah, similarly, we're kind of we treat AI as like and John, like our ultimate creative collaborator, right? But the magic and the humanity, I think, is still deeply human, which is very important to us. I think most significantly, it's changed how we brainstorm, which is very fun. We use it really as like a thought partner. So you'd like throw out prompts, explore kind of like those what ifs and seeing where it takes us. The fabulous Kelly Din on my team is our AI guru, and she's helped to build experiential models on ChatGPT where we're, feeding it our source of truth decks and our briefing documents. And it's also helped us to enable scale internally at the organization, where people can use our experiential models to ask questions to determine if their creative is on brand or not, to ask questions from our playbooks. So we've used it to scale too, which has been fascinating and a really exciting process.
As an agency, I guess we're challenged by brands to show how AI is making us more efficient and potentially show cost savings, which is fair. Like AI can save time on things like note taking and, summarizing documents. So we definitely use it as an efficiency tool, but we also use it as a personalization, accessible tool for our events. AI has really helped us with things like looking into translation, looking into how do we really personalize an experience, but on mass scale. Like we've got an event coming up where we've got nearly 1,000 people coming. How do we make each and every interaction feel personal to them? I think without AI helping us do that, we probably would struggle as an agency. And then like the third bucket is definitely they're the other seat at the creative table. I'm not like AI definitely does not replace our creatives, but they kind of like help them have someone to spark off. And we have to be really careful that we still have a human check on it. I think you can tell when AI has written something, it's an amazing tool, but you still can really tell when something's come through without having that human lens on it. So I think it's still really important to use it to really push us, but also still put that lens across it from a personal side, I would say.
I think that's our job as marketers too, right? Is to use these tools to your point, to amplify creativity and not replace it. I think that's the most important thing we can be doing.
Yeah, and I think we're more or less using all the same tools. For us, it helps us move faster with insights, automation, personalization, so that at the end of the day, we can focus more on that creative side of the story, the emotion, the why behind the work. But it's that balance, right? Let AI handle the process. We'll keep, humans driving that connection.
Yeah. The Louisa, to your point, when you were saying people can tell when you start to use AI, I have taken personal offense that the M dash has become a like dirty thing now, because I'm a big Dash fan. And now I feel so self-conscious every time I go to use it. I was like, I'm going to think that I've used ChatGPT. It's like a dirty thing now. I hate it.
Yeah.
And I'm still fighting for the use of M dash every day. I believe in it strongly.
I'm on your team, Jimmy, as a writer. Use my M dash, and it's own writing. Thank you very
Come
much.
on.
Great. And so let's look ahead again to 20. There are a ton of great events coming up next year. So whether it's either something you're personally excited about or something that your brand or your client is producing, tell me the event you're most excited about next year.
I have a couple. I have one that is Canva and one that is not Canva. One that is not Canva is I'm a Philadelphia native, and Netflix is opening up the first Netflix house outside of Philadelphia. So I think they're doing so much cool stuff in the experiential experience space, and I'm really excited to see what Netflix house brings to the table. So I'm really excited for that. And then I feel like I would be silly to not say Canva Create 2026. We are deep in planning for the next iteration of Create in Los Angeles next year. And we're really excited to continue to see how we can expand the program and make it better, more interesting for our community, increase attendance, throw spaghetti at the wall, see what sticks, try new, fun, creative, bold initiatives as part of that tentpole we've created. So really excited to see where we continue to push that.
Selfishly,
for Lenovo,
sorry.
Valerie.
I am excited about our own Workiva Amplify. We're going to Resorts World in Vegas in September. So, like you start planning for those multi-years in advance. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's finally here. So I'm excited about that one. But personally, Workiva, we just joined our field events team and our global events team together. So we are it's a transitional year for us. So we're really thinking about that journey, making sure that we're getting everybody locally, regionally, where they're at, getting them engaged, and then getting them to that annual conference of ours, either in North America or EMEA. So I'm excited about what us as a team can build and evolve in 26 when you merge all the events together under one roof.
From my side, we have obviously FIFA coming up next year. So Lenovo is the official technology partner of FIFA and the World Cup. So it's all things World Cup, starting now until July of next year. And so we're integrating a lot of our road shows into that. So it's the community also then getting them excited for these World Cup matches. That's personally what we're excited to be able to bring to next year.
I obviously I work with a few brands, and we've got amazing brands on the call. So there's a few things coming up next year that I'm very jealous about that I'm not producing, but super excited about as well. Jimmy, you stole mine. Netflix house opening is like, I just think it's going to be it's opening in a couple of weeks, and I just think it's going to be so interesting to see how a multifunctional event space that works across fashion, food, merchandise, storytelling, like how exciting for brands to look at that as a space. Like that's what we want experiential events to be. We want it to touch all those different touch points that creates that fandom. So I'm so intrigued to see how that's going to play out. Also, I'm really excited to see some of our B2B events. Like it's, consumer events are, a lot of brands look up to them because you can be super creative. They're like really innovative, but actually the challenging briefs are the B2B ones. And New York upfronts and Cannes Lion, people have to show up in a really almost like B2C way, but have a really important and sometimes difficult B2B message to put across. And I always really look forward to seeing what brands do at a new fronts and an upfronts and Lions. And there were some really interesting brands that came to Lions for the first time, and I love to see in your space, Jimmy. But I think I'll be intrigued to see maybe other brands that show up in those spaces and put their toe in that water and see how they present in a B2B space. So those are the ones I'll be keeping my eye on.
Excellent. And I have tickets to Netflix House next month. So
Nice.
I'm so excited.
Can't wait.
Great. And so let's talk about, we talked about this in our pre-call, this idea of the brand as a vibe. Like what does that mean to you, and how can brands and kind of their ethos become the trend themselves?
I'm going to let the brands say.
I think it's this sense of like that feeling is the message that you're communicating, right? It's about the energy that people associate with you, with your brand. It's how your brand kind of moves through culture, not just how it shows up. At Canva, our vibe, I think, is joyful, inclusive, empowering, and that informs how our events sound, look, feel, what our hosts on stage feel like, right? And I think when your brand has that strong emotional core, it becomes something that people want to be a part of and not just buy from. And I think that to me, brand as a vibe is.
It's also like where you show up. Like when when your brand has such a core identity, like Canva really knows where to show up to be in its users' vibe. Like, because brands are always trying to just be culturally relevant. So really figuring out like, how are you going to show up in a space that's really authentic to the people that use you, and then you become the vibe for the person. So rather than trying to tap onto a trend just because, like, you do things that are right for your brand, you show up in spaces that are right for your brand, and then that's why brands like Canva, Nike, Red Bull, all the brands that you think about, you talk around a dinner table, it's because they're a vibe, and like you want to talk about them, and it's because it shows up in your sphere. And that's why I think it's almost like the brands become the trend now versus the brands following the trend.
And I think the trick is consistency too, right? Like making sure that every touch point from the flagships like Canva create to the smallest pop-ups kind of ladder back to that same emotional truth for the brand. And I think that helps to support that.
Yeah, and it's your emotional fingerprint, right? It's what people remember long after, the message fades, that they're no longer at that event. It's what stays with them.
Yeah, for us at Workiva, we are a SaaS tech company. So we're always like, how do we make ourselves more human? And I think that's what we try to do with these events is just make people understand we are fun and we're not all about technology. It's like a human aspects, and we're going to bring you fun experience, elevated experience, and give you something, a memory that you can take home with you as well.
With that, somehow we have come to our closing session, our closing question for the session, I should say. So, how would you describe experiential in 2026, either in one word or, a short phrase?
Ooh, I think mine would be considered. I think we as agencies especially are going to be challenged with being really considered of how we spend a brand's dollar, thinking about advising brands, why are you showing up, where are you going, does it make sense for you as a brand? And we always talk about budget's going to go up, they're going to go down, like how are you going to squeeze the lemon? But I think it's not about doing less, it's just about doing what you're doing that's right for you as a brand. So not just doing it for the sake of doing it. So I think we'll be really challenged to make briefs work hard for the brand that are briefing us and being really considered. And I'm assuming that's probably starting at the top with the brand, is that they're having to be really considered about what briefs they're pulling together and where they're showing up, so it makes real sense for them.
I would say conscious creativity for us. It's about designing, not sound like a broken record, but designing with purpose, like crafting moments that are intentional, inclusive, emotionally intelligent. And it's that idea of moving beyond spectacle to substance.
I would say curated. So we need to curate experience that are memorable, impact, that's meeting the audience where they're at. So no longer it's a event for the masses. It's a curated experience for each.
I would say intelligently human, right? Smart tools for emotion. We'll see experiences powered by AI and data, but designed for empathy, authenticity, and real connections. Where intelligence is going to meet, the heart of what people are looking for.
I love these answers. We should ask this every session. These are great. Well, thank you all. That wraps up our Experiential Marketing Month digital learning session, our final one of the month. A big thank you to all of you, our wonderful speakers. And thanks to all of you for tuning in. We hope to see you soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.